Most people are still talking about models, parameters, benchmarks, release cycles. But if you look at how power actually consolidates in technology, you know that's not the story. The real story is this. Google is positioning Gemini to become the default intelligence layer across the modern software ecosystem. Not because it's the best model, not because it wins every benchmark, but because Google controls the environment where applications are built, deployed, and used. That's the part most people are missing. Google sits on an unfair advantage: distribution at a planetary scale. Search, Android, Chrome, Workspace, YouTube. Each one is a high-traffic environment where Gemini can be embedded by default. When you control the operating environment, the market adjusts to you, not the other way around. That's why the conversation around Gemini isn't about raw model capability. It's about strategic position, about default status, about frictionless integration into the tools billions of people already use. The Windsurf acquisition was a signal, understated but important. It told us Google isn't trying to dominate the model layer. They're aiming at the application layer, where business workflows get built, where consumer behavior gets shaped, where long-term economic value accumulates. If developers build inside Google's tooling, and enterprises standardize on Google's productivity suite, and consumers rely on AI-native Google services, then Gemini becomes the underlying intelligence for everything. Models can be swapped, applications cannot. When you combine a model that's improving at a predictable pace, distribution that reaches billions, application ecosystems that already dominate enterprise and consumer markets, you get structural leverage that other AI companies can't replicate. OpenAI has velocity, Anthropic has discipline, Meta has scale, but none of them have Google's distribution footprint or its end-to-end application stack. Gemini doesn't need to be unmatched. It needs to be integrated, and Google is integrating it everywhere. Enterprise adoption rarely tracks hype. It tracks stability, reliability, data governance risk, and integration cost. Google can walk into any enterprise and offer AI native to the productivity suite, AI native to cloud infrastructure, AI native to mobile OS, AI native to the browser, AI built into security and identity layers. That's the kind of package that becomes a default corporate standard. Not because CIOs are chasing innovation, but because the switching costs are enormous once everything is tied together. This is how long-term dominance is built, quietly and structurally. If Gemini becomes the de facto standard across Google's ecosystem, every Workspace document becomes a training ground. Every Android device becomes an inference surface. Every YouTube query becomes an AI interaction. Every Chrome session becomes an integrated workflow. The more people rely on AI inside Google systems, the less likely they are to use alternatives, even if alternatives are better. The market is obsessed with who has the best model. That's a short-term view. What matters is who controls the environment where models operate. Google isn't trying to outshine competitors on novelty. They're methodically building a position where switching away from Gemini becomes impractical. That's the real advantage. Inevitability created by infrastructure, not by hype cycles. The moment Gemini becomes good enough to deploy across Google's ecosystem, the conversation shifts. At that point, it won't matter who has the flashiest demo. It will matter who owns the workflow. And Google is positioning itself to own all of it, from the developer stack to the enterprise suite to the daily consumer interface.